balanced view on politics in today's world. Based on facts, born of rationality, common sense, and logic. Providing context on today's events. This is American Perspective with Rick Thomas.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to American Perspective with me. Hey, I want to give a really big thank you shout out to the McGroin crew. For anyone that doesn't quite understand, and I could be wrong on this, so don't take my word for it, but I believe the story goes as to the development of the McGroins is that there was somebody in Dan Bongino's chat, not that long ago, who essentially came up with the name McGroin, and he caught that, thought it was really great, laughed about it, and then next thing you know, a whole bunch of people started like joining in on the McGroins by changing the name, obviously, but putting together the McGroins, and next thing you know, the McGroins have now become a complete movement. You have Caps McGroin, Truth Over McGroin. Let's see, who else do we have here? There's, boy, I'm missing some. Well, there's some that aren't actually McGroins, but are part of the McGroin Nation. You got Shadow McGroin. You've got, Lisa R. We've got Sergeant No, Support Our Rights. They're all part of the McGroin Nation. And they, Pops McGroin, can't miss that. Can't miss Pops McGroin. But they are all part of the McGroin Nation. And they have a channel over on, also on Rumble, where they just kind of hang out. And what they do is they support shows that are patriots, that are run by patriots, and they're Silent McGroin as an example. So what they do is they go running around and they'll like find shows, and they'll go and they'll support the shows by coming into the chat. And so you'll see the McGroins, they will all be all over the place. Yeah, so there's a bunch of the McGroins. Thank you all for coming. And Coco Dominky of Whiskey Warrior P1 fandom has also headed on over to the McGroins and has turned into Coco McGroin. So welcome, Coco McGroin, also known as Coco Dominky by us Whiskey Warriors. For those of you that don't understand the development of the Whiskey Warrior motto, I used to broadcast as a show called Whiskey Musings. And so every once in a while, you'll see the Whiskey Warriors, the P1s that have been around since the beginning, and they will go and call me Whiskey. That's fine. I'm cool with it. I know I've got my name. I've got my name in this title, but they call me Whiskey, and there's a reason for that, because that's what I started off as Whiskey Musings. I changed the name the name of the broadcast mainly just because of the fact that the Whiskey Musings name wasn't really taking off. I want to try and make this as big of a show as possible. And so I decided to change the name into American Perspective and bring it back. Not bring it back, but bring it to the Rumbleverse, as well as I also broadcast on Facebook and Twitter and all kinds of different places. But Wednesday nights and Saturday nights, I pull out the whiskey and we sit and I drink the whiskey. I show everyone what I'm drinking that night. I do mostly bourbon, but sometimes I'll do Irish whiskey and things like that. So this is why my name is Whiskey to all of the original P1s. And my group, just like for, Sean Parnell's Battleground Live, he has the Battle Crew. I have the Whiskey Warriors. And so there we go. And that's kind of how all of this worked out. And the hat, by the way, thanks to Shadow McGroin for saying that, nice hat. the hat has actually become my trademark. So, and I have them. I need to get my store back up and running again with it, for people to buy. But anyways, so there you go. There's a quick story of how all of this came about. And, so there you go. And we're going to see the McGroin Nation. I'm actually sitting over in the McGroin Nation right now at the same time, watching, but here, just to kind of give you an idea of what they do. So here it is. They open up the channel. They actually have it open for like, I don't know, 16 hours in a day. So they have a daytime show that they run through. And then they also do the after hours, as you can see in the McGroin Nation After Dark. And so they sit there and they put up shows, images of shows and things like that. They have this little slideshow that's playing for those of you who are on iHeartRadio and some of those other places. There it is. American Perspective right there. They went ahead and put it up for me this morning, or for tonight, this afternoon. And so thank you. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. You guys are just absolutely awesome. They are a group of patriots who essentially run around and, like I said, support people with, who are patriots and are the new media on Rumble. That's us. The McGroin Nation is part of the Whiskey Warrior group now. And so thank you all for coming. I do appreciate that. It makes me feel great that I'm actually a part of a larger group now. So that's fantastic. We've got Battleground Live. We've got Sean Farash, who does Uncovered. You've got Dan Bongino, which is where all of this started. And so I thank you very, very much for all of that. I do appreciate it. All right, let's get tonight kicked off in grand style like we always do with the Pledge of Allegiance. So I believe, if I remember right, tonight is Three Chevy's version of the pledge. So please, if you are of mind, please stand, remove your hats if you're wearing one, like me, and put your hand over your heart and join with Three Chevy from Rumble in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And once again, thank you, Three Chevy, for that. I do appreciate all of you, all of my Whiskey Warrior fans who have brought those in. Just for if you want to get your, I got lost there for a second. If you want to get your Pledge of Allegiance put in, just all you have to do is record yourself saying it, and then send me the audio file. You can send that to my email address, fans, FANS, at americanperspective.online. That's fans, FANS, at americanperspective.online. And I'll get you into the rotation so that you guys don't have to listen to me recite the pledge. But anyway, so there you go. All right. And by the way, that's open to any and all of the McGroins as well. Anybody can do it. You could just, all you have to do is record yourself saying it, ship it off to me, and I will definitely get that into the rotation. So there we go. All right. Tonight's sponsor, and I'm doing it all this week because at the end of this week is Flag Day. For those that don't know, Friday is Flag Day. And I'm hoping that I'll have something. I'm trying to figure out what I need to do for Flag Day that's at the end of this week. But tonight's sponsor, as it will be every day this week for the most part, is theflagshirt.com. That's what I wear. I'm wearing these flag shirts, these patriotic flag shirts, every single show. And I get all of these from theflagshirt.com. Now, The Flag Shirt has their Freedom Week specials going on. Every single day this week is a different deal. Right now, they have two shirts that are only $24.99 each. Let me just go ahead and show you what they are. So here they are. This is the Tuesday deal. And as you can see, it's the man's button-down American flag and the woman's, I'm not sure what they call that, but there's a woman's shirt there you can see right above my head. And these guys are just fantastic. It's veteran-owned, which is extremely supportive, but they're all patriotic. They have all kinds of stuff that, shirts, hats, other accessories, socks, etc., etc. And you can go and, oh yeah, I can't forget, Outlaw Dogs reminded me. She's a longtime P1 too. Outlaw Dogs just reminded me that happy birthday to President Trump for Flag Day. So we'll have to give out. I may have to sing. I may have to sing happy birthday to Trump because I do that for all of the folks who have birthdays. But anyway, so head on over to theflagshirt.com. Check out there each day they have something different for Freedom Week this week. And today's deal is 2 shirts, meaning the male shirt and the female shirt, which are being sold for $24.99. That's actually a pretty damn good deal. I'm eyeing that button-down shirt myself. But anyway, so there you go. Go to theflagshirt.com and get patriotized. But you know what? Before you go, you should also check out flagshirt.americanperspective.online. That's flagshirt.americanperspective.online, where if you visit that website, you will get a code that you can put in the promo code box for $5 off your order. Go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online, get yourself a code that you can enter at checkout at theflagshirt.com and get $5 off your order as well. So once again, go to flagshirt.americanperspective.online and get yourself a code for $5 off at theflagshirt.com and get yourself patriotized. Okay. So, of course, this month is Pride Month and also Juneteenth, which to me are like 2 absolutely horrific, and totally unnecessary, holidays in America. I don't even understand why we have them, to be honest. I mean, Juneteenth makes sense. Only from the standpoint of it's a celebration of the actual end of slavery in America. It was the last day slavery was legal in Texas. And so I get that. But the fact that we keep making it some big deal is what's driving me crazy. Well, anyway, there was a celebration, apparently, of Juneteenth celebration at the White House, and there's some video out of Joe Biden celebrating Juneteenth with Kamala Harris at his side and surrounded by a bunch of other people who I don't know the names of, and frankly, it's really irrelevant to the conversation. But also, I gotta show you guys this. I really do. Take a look at what our illustrious leader of the free world, how he reacts to this party atmosphere, I guess, that's going on. Here we go. I'm going to play it for you. Now, for those of you who are on the audio portion,
you grads in here, we got
Joe Biden's like got this lost look on his face.
Even if you're short a couple credit hours, you can.
She knew so long as she was denied, our freedom can never be secured. Her decades-long march brought her here to the White House when she stood by my side as I signed the Juneteenth federal holiday.
So that was Joe at the podium trying to speak. Juneteenth. Juneteenth. Well, anyway, for those of you who are on the audio portion of the program on iHeart and Spotify and all the rest of the podcast outlets that pick up the audio portion of this program, when you watch him, everybody surrounding him is like doing this, clapping and swaying, and they're kind of like dancing in place to the music. Joe Biden's got his hands at his sides and he's just kind of standing there staring. It's almost as though because in some angles of the video, you can actually see like the flashing lights from the stage. And so I'm kind of wondering if he like got into some sort of a hypnotic trance based on the flashing based on the flashing of the lights, because all he's doing is he's standing there with his hands hanging at his sides with this dumbass open mouth hanging drooling look on his face and just staring there like, what am I supposed to do? And he's, occasionally you'll catch him. He kind of looks around a little bit and like, where are all these people here? Anyway. Oh, Sky News posted that. It posted the video, and then Adrian, known as Squawk _Hawk on X, put it up as well. And Fox News, actually, this was in the Daily Fetched, was where they pulled it up. He looks lost, people. He just looks lost. And I have absolutely no idea as to what was going on with that. I just don't know. This guy, I'm sorry. I can't do it. He's just so bad. In fact, he's so bad that the Post Millennial posted, and actually this is a 538 poll, but the Post Millennial calls it out here. Breaking. Joe Biden approval rating hits all-time low of 37.4%. So he's actually dropped off even lower than what he has been. You can kind of see the ranking here. Let me see if I can pull it up a little bigger so you guys can actually see it. Oh, there it is. So this has been a track of approval to disapproval, comparison. The disapprovals in the pink, the approvals in the green, approvals at 37.4%, and the kind of pink purplish or whatever is at 56.7% for disapproval. Yeah, this is not this is not exactly the this is not exactly the type or the kind of thing that we want as our president. I'll just put it that way. Trying to put it nicely for that. But this is just horrible. His chances, the more that this goes on in terms of approval rating, his chances of actually winning in November keep dropping every single day. As they should, by the way. As they should. All right, so the next biggest breaking news, of course, was this morning, where the jury deliberations only lasted for maybe about an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. I don't even know. I mean, it was so short. It was like they broke yesterday and then they came in today and then bam, all of a sudden we get breaking news of Hunter Biden being found guilty on all counts in his gun trial. All right, now here's the thing. First of all, you need to understand that everybody was assuming that we would end up with a hung jury on this, because it certainly couldn't have been that he would be acquitted on all charges. That would have been like way, way too much of a situation. But as far as Hunter Biden being found guilty, he's been found guilty. Yay. Okay, at least that's what the left thinks the right's going to do. But what really is going to count is the sentencing. Now, here's the thing, and here's kind of the narrative. And some of the other political pundits out there have already sort of talked about this, is that Hunter Biden has now been found guilty. And so now the left can say, see, the justice system isn't rigged. because he was found guilty. And what's even worse is they could also say, well, he was found guilty even in a courtroom that would have been sympathetic to him because it took place in his hometown in Delaware. Well, so here's the thing. Yes, he was found guilty. We haven't seen the charges yet. The sentencing yet, obviously. And his sentencing should come out. Could be something as minimal as community service. Could be, probation and community service, so on and so forth. And again, this whole thing, I think, is to just I think Joe Biden and the Biden administration, the Biden campaign are all like throwing Hunter under the bus because they want to show that, no, people, the legal system works. See, our DOJ didn't stop going after Hunter. Well, they tend to forget that some of us have memories that are better than just like 2 seconds long. Like, yeah, your concocted freaking get out of jail free card plea deal, which was a sweetheart plea deal, kind of fell through because somebody, the judge in particular, was like, what the hell is this thing? And threw it back in your guys' faces. So, yeah, it's just, I honestly, I don't think he's going to go anywhere. And even if he does, there's always the possibility, because this is a federal charge, by the way. These are federal charges. And so because they are federal charges, Biden has meaning Biden Sr., Joe, has the opportunity to get him pardoned. Have a feeling that might be on the table, even though Joe Biden keeps saying, because again, keep in mind, Joe Biden is a liar. But understandably, Joe Biden has at his disposal, being the president, the ability to pardon him. And he probably will pardon him. And why? Well, support our rights over on Rumble points it out. He will likely pardon Hunter if Hunter threatens to turn on Joe for all of their FARA problems that they're supposedly going to eventually, maybe not really, however long it takes the Republicans to actually figure all this crap out, because it's all intertwined. But all those FARA violations, that's the Foreign Agent Registration Act violations that Joe, Jim, and Hunter all did during the last 50 years of Joe's public service. So, yeah. Joe is such a good father, too. I mean, he's just such an incredible good father that, it's going to happen. Yeah. So anyway, again, I don't think he's actually going to get anything serious, but he will eventually, I'm sure, get to a point where he'll have to get pardoned by Joe. Now, whether or not that'll trigger Joe Biden stepping aside because of his abysmal approval ratings, and maybe he'll say something along the lines of, well, I need to be a good father to my son. It's like, where the hell have you been for the last 50 years that he's been growing up? But whatever. So anyway, we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see what happens. But I can guarantee you that part of this entire situation is essentially because of the fact that, one, there was just mounds of evidence that everybody all knew about and had been widely publicized, so they had no way to cover it up. And second of all, they now can use this as quote unquote proof that the court system actually works and that the lawfare wasn't lawfare against Donald Trump. So that's what they're probably going to do. You'll see that narrative coming out in the mainstream propagandist media. All right. So we have another truth that has surfaced. And I have a feeling in this particular case that they were hoping that this would never show up. But for whatever reason, Nancy Pelosi had her daughter work out a deal with HBO to create a documentary that was on the whole January 6th thing. And by thing, I don't mean it's an insurrection. It was not an insurrection. It never was an insurrection. And if you still believe it's an insurrection, you're a complete moron. That being said, there was a video that came out that Nancy has running around that essentially she was leaving in like a Escalade or like a Suburban or something like that. And in it, she claims that it is all her fault. So let's take a look at the video real quick. It's a fairly short one, but let's take a look at the video really quick and you can hear what I'm talking about here.
We have responsibility, Terry. We did not have any accountability for what was going on there, and we should have. This is ridiculous. You're going to ask me in the middle of the thing when they've already breached the inaugural stuff that should we call the Capitol Police? I mean, the National Guard? Why weren't the National Guard there to begin with?
They thought that they had sufficient resources.
No, there's not a question of how they had. They don't know. They clearly didn't know, and I take responsibility for not having them just prepared for more. We have responsibility, Terry.
Nope.
We did not have.
So Nancy Pelosi in this video, for those of you who are on the audio stream only, Nancy Pelosi is discussing with a person, apparently the driver of the large car or the car that they are in, and she's got a mask on, so that's why you can't hear some of her words very clearly. But she is basically complaining about the fact that why the National Guard wasn't there. And well, Nancy, I'll simply tell you, reports are that Muriel Bowser put out a letter and a statement 3 days prior, basically saying that they didn't need them. They didn't need this. They didn't need the additional help that the Metro Police Department for DC went ahead and was going to be able to take care of things, because it was only supposed to be protesters who were exercising their First Amendment rights, and that they did not need the National Guard. And in fact, in that same general time frame, they basically said, look, we'll take the troops, but we're going to put them on traffic duty outside, way outside of the Capitol grounds, the original Capitol grounds. Now, one thing that she does say here, which she is absolutely 100% correct on, and that is, it is her responsibility, because of the fact that the Constitution clearly states that the 10 square mile area we know as Washington, D.C., is solely the responsibility of Congress, that all matters of law and everything else in that area rests constitutionally solely at the feet of Congress. And in this particular case, Nancy Pelosi, the House of Representatives. So, all of this does rest on your feet, lady. So anyway, I'll be honest with you. I am getting a little tired of January 6th. I'm getting tired of hearing about January 6th. I'm definitely getting tired of hearing from the lunatic leftist Marxist Democrat morons that are running around on all of the social media streams that keep saying it was an insurrection. It wasn't an insurrection. There definitely wasn't any weapons that were found. There wasn't any purpose. There wasn't coordination. No, Donald Trump didn't coordinate it. And in fact, in another video that's out there, she actually talks about Donald Trump coming to the Capitol grounds and wanting to physically assault him, which that would have been funny. 80-year-old frickin' Nancy trying to hit Donald Trump, who like towers over her. But the thing about it is also, as a part of that video, she talks about how the Secret Service said they can't protect Donald, and so they refused Donald coming to the grounds. And she was just, she was like, well, that's good. That's a good thing, because I would love to have him come here so I can hit him. I would love to hit him. So she threatens to physically assault the president of the United States in that video. Anyway. Sometimes it's just frustrating to know that even back on January 6th, a long, long time ago, that we knew exactly what was going on. And in fact, I even dug into this. Check this out. This is from NPR, of all places, that was putting out their Capitol insurrection updates. But here in an article, January 11th, 2021. Ex-Capitol Police Chief says request for National Guard denied 6 times in the riots. Well, it was denied because it wasn't approved. See, what a lot of people don't understand is in terms of how the National Guard works. The National Guard actually has two focuses. Number one is the focus like the regular army or regular soldiers have, which is essentially protecting our country and going off and doing, war-like things. Now, the second part, though, which is a different title under the laws, and I can't remember off the top of my head what the two titles are, but the second title defines the National Guard as being able to do what's called police activities, which is why the National Guard gets called out when there are riots, like such what we saw in, I can't think of the name of the place. But anyway, I digress on that. But the point is that the second part, in terms of enacting their police abilities from the National Guard, they need to be called in and requested by the civilian authorities in charge. Now, in most states, that's the governor. So the governor would have to ask for their assistance from the Pentagon. The Pentagon would, of course, enact the laws that would allow the National Guard to function as police presence and all of that stuff, which is a whole bunch of red tape, but it's designed based off of the Insurrection Act in particular. All about this. And so, they can't just mobilize, like, for an example, in D.C., the civilian authority that is in control of D.C. is Congress. They've passed they have passed that authority down to the mayor. And so when the mayor denied the request to bring the National Guard in, that's why. That's why the National Guard wasn't there, is because the civilian authority said, we don't want them. We don't need them. That's why. Well, they also don't seem to understand that it takes a little bit for any National Guard troop to mobilize if they're not prepared. And let's not even discuss the whole concept of the fact that even the DOD was setting up an inserted change in the command authorization chain, the chain of command, which Dan Bongino kind of goes over. And that also caused a whole bunch of delays and things like that with it. But anyway. Oh, Nancy. Well, there's one other truth that is still hidden today. There's one other truth that is still hidden today. And I'm going to tell you that truth that's still hidden is the Epstein investigations and whether or not they're actually even still going on. Are they? We've never heard anything about them in a long time. I mean, it seems like Ghislaine Maxwell just sort of got, charged and convicted, and then she went to jail, and we haven't heard anything about it since. Well, this article in the National Pulse, which points off to a video that I also am going to show you, this one on YouTube. Now, I got to love Senator Kennedy. I really got to love him. He's got like that Southern accent, and it's just freaking amazing how smart he actually is. Not she, he actually is. And it's just amazing how he, comes off as this, oftentimes when he's speaking, he comes off as this, Southern gentleman who is not quite as sharp, but he frickin' is just, he's one of the sharper knives in Congress today. Well, he was sitting there talking to Christopher Wray, who is the leader of the FBI, and he asks a few questions. One of them he asked about, which I cut out. I'm not going to play this, but he had two questions for him, and he asked the one, got the answers, and now he's about to ask the second question. So here we go.
We know that Jeffrey Epstein, who is now deceased, and Ms. Maxwell, his associate, who's in prison, were engaged in a conspiracy of sex trafficking with minors. So are others. It's been widely reported. What's the FBI doing to investigate the other people that were involved in these sex trafficking rings?
Well, I'm not sure that I can confirm any specific individual.
Well, let me put it this way. Let me give you some facts, widely reported. Jeffrey Epstein had video surveillance in all of his homes and on his private island. And there have been articles after articles from witnesses who have said he videotaped sex acts with prominent people because he was trying to incur with young girls that he had procured to try to incur favor with those prominent people and potentially to be able to blackmail them. Now, that's a fact. And the FBI and other federal agencies have raided his houses. Do you have those tapes?
Again, I can't discuss the specifics of our law enforcement operations related to Mr. Epstein or Ms. Maxwell, but obviously we had very active investigation related to both of them. But whether it extends to other people, I'm not sure that's something
but here, comment on. A suit was filed yesterday against one of those prominent people by one of the young women sex trafficked, allegedly, said he was part of the ring. It's on the front page, I don't know, is this New York Times, Wall Street Journal? And we keep seeing article after article after article, and we keep hearing about prominent person after prominent person after prominent person. I just want to know if these prominent people are above the law and aren't being investigated, or is the FBI investigating them?
Well, no one is above the law, number one. As to whether specific people are being investigated, that's not something that I, as I'm sure you can appreciate, can engage on here. We've devoted significant resources to the investigation.
Is it ongoing?
Okay, so if you'd listened and really listen, and for those who are on the audio portion of the program and not watching, you should head on over to Rumble and watch this part of the show. But he's sitting there. Ray is like trying to figure out the best way to work himself away from the idea as to whether or not the investigation is actually ongoing. And like I said, Senator Kennedy has a way about him where, again, he looks like he's just, you know, some backwoods oaky kind of person that isn't the smartest, sharpest knife in the drawer. And he's very sharp. He is very good, and he puts people at ease with his mannerisms. But yeah, he's like a fox in the freaking hen house, and he can figure all that stuff out with it. But basically what it boils down to is Ray could not comment on any investigation, much less alone whether or not there was any one individual who was being investigated. But he didn't even admit to a investigation at all. So my guess is that the FBI probably isn't investigating these people, which I don't know if anybody caught this, but the former President Trump, mentioned that he was going to declassify any Epstein material, along with a whole bunch of other things like the Kennedy assassination and that kind of stuff, if he gets back into office. Now, I'm not really, I mean, it would be nice to know about the Kennedy assassination, I guess. I mean, yeah, you know, you still got conspiracy theories and stuff running around about it. But to be completely honest, I want to see this black book because I'm telling you, there are probably a whole slew of people who are on that freaking list, on the Epstein files lists and everything else, that are in government right now, that are all part of this entire thing. And there's even some suggestions, although there's no real evidence of this, but there's some suggestions that it might have even been put together by the Israeli Mossad or other intelligence agencies working with Epstein to get this going. But I got to tell you, I mean, 2024, I keep saying it. 2024 is the year of the truth. I'm really kind of surprised that this one isn't coming out yet, but maybe it's just a little bit of time for that to show up. All right. Well, as we move into the rest of the year and get closer and closer to the elections season, we all know that the left or leftist organizations that are out there in the form of big tech and so on and so forth, because they haven't been stopped before. But they are gearing up to start silencing people. And how do I know this? Well, this announcement came in the words of the Federalist. Spotify gears up to silence political opponents under the guise of, quote, election integrity. Yeah. I broadcast on Spotify. My podcast is over there. Granted, I don't get a lot of exposure over there. iHeartRadio seems to be my big outlet when it comes to this. But it's just scary to even think about the fact that these places, which are supposed to be, they're not supposed to be publishers. They're supposed to be platforms. They're supposed to just provide the system by which communications and information is transmitted. They're not supposed to inject their own form of, censorship or whatever other adjective you want to add to it. Okay. But here, there's a plan that Spotify announced that basically wants to remind people that they are the world's most popular streaming subscription service, but that they are planning on positioning themselves as a gatekeeper of election information. They're basically going to roll out what is essentially a censoring machine targeting what the streaming giant deems as disinformation. On May 31st, Spotify announced its plan, this is out of the Federalist, informing the world how Spotify is protecting election integrity in 2024. The plan sounds a lot like what big tech, driven by constitution-devouring federal agencies, did in 2020. By that, we're talking about Twitter, prior to Elon, and Facebook. Social networks and internet providers shut down content claimed to contain disinformation, misinformation, and Orwellian-sounding malinformation, suppressing information from primarily conservatives, criticizing and in many cases debunking official information. As we now know, much of this censored content wasn't wrong. It was just an inconvenient truth to the swamp powers bent on interfering in the election. And now Spotify is planning on heading, or it appears, as they say, appears to be heading down the same path. Dusty Jenkins, who is Spotify's chief public affairs officer, noted the worldwide effort of the company's plan to block speech. He said, quote, with billions of people from over 50 countries heading to the polls to cast their vote, 2024 is shaping up to be the largest election year in history. Safeguarding our platform, see, he even calls it a platform. Safeguarding our platform during critically important global efforts is a top priority for our teams, and we've spent years developing and refining our approach. Knowing that election safety is top of mind for many of our creators and users, we wanted to provide further insights into our approach at Spotify. And of course, it outlines or rolls out platform rules that include prohibiting content that attempts to manipulate or interfere with election-related processes. And the rules of engagement are going to change from country to country to country. So anyway, that's essentially, once again, folks, we're getting closer and closer to the election. Things like this are just going to continue to happen, more and more. So be prepared for it. So if I all of a sudden disappear on Spotify, you'll know why. Because I'm certainly not going to stop transmitting to Spotify. But if all of a sudden my podcast disappears from Spotify, find me on something else. I'll always be available on Rumble, because Rumble is the free speech alternative to YouTube and is a fantastic supporter of free speech. It even supports leftists coming over. If you're a leftist and you want to come over, let's do it. Let's come on over. So anyway, so another thing that's got attention in terms of truth has been a lot has been coming out just in the last month about the whole COVID situation, whether it was dealing with Fauci and where all of his mandates came from in terms of things like the 6-foot distancing rule and masks working, not working, then working, adding 3, 4, 5 masks to your face will protect you. And then, of course, the vaccine, which at first was supposed to be, if you get the vaccine, you're going to be protected. And, that kind of thing. If you want to be protected, you get the vaccine and you will never get it ever again. and then come to find out that no, that actually isn't the case, that you are still susceptible to getting it and transmitting it. So, yeah, it's pretty much a bit of a interesting thing to find out that, again, most of us who were called conspiracy theorists are starting to come into the light, and the truth is reigning supreme and coming out. So, this is not surprising except for the fact that it happened in California. This from the Epic Times. Federal court revives lawsuit against Los Angeles COVID-19 vaccine mandate. So apparently there was a lawsuit that was being brought in Los Angeles with regards to the vaccines and the requirement or the mandate that people go and get them. And the original court case was dropped, and it was said that, no, you can't do it, basically because of the 1905, this was right after the Spanish flu, by the way. But some 1905 law that made it to where vaccines could be pushed on the public. And so anyway, a federal appeals court has revived a lawsuit challenging the COVID-19 vaccine mandate imposed by the Los Angeles School District in particular, noting that the record doesn't clearly show whether the vaccines prevent transmission of the illness. So the lawsuit was brought by the Health Freedom Defense Fund, among other challengers, to the mandate that had asserted that it had violated the due process and equal protection rights of district employees, in part because of the vaccines, unlike traditional vaccines, are not effective in preventing infection. And so, U.S. District Judge originally disagreed, and U.S. District Judge Dale Fisher disagreed, throwing out the case in 2022. He ruled that even if the COVID vaccines don't prevent infection, the mandates can be imposed under a 1905 U.S. Supreme Court ruling because vaccines reduce symptoms and prevent severe severe disease and death. But a panel at the U.S. the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit, and this is amazing because the Ninth Circuit, by the way, is also one of the most overturned circuits in the United States. But the Ninth Circuit on June 7th reversed that ruling, finding that Judge Fisher extended the 1905 Jacobson versus Massachusetts ruling beyond its public health rationale and government's power to mandate prophylactic measures aimed at preventing the recipient from spreading disease to others to also govern forced medical treatment for the recipient's benefit. They just extended it too far. And so now it's going to come back to the court system. Here, U.S. Circuit Judge Ryan Nelson, writing for the 2-1 majority, added, "At this stage, we must accept plaintiff's allegation that the vaccine does not prevent the spread of COVID-19 as true, and because of this, Jacobson does not apply." So basically, because the vaccine isn't really a vaccine, the vaccine isn't a vaccine because it didn't actually prevent the transmission when other vaccines do. And that's essentially the crux of the case. So this is going to be one to watch because, especially due to the fact that we have all of these different things coming out about COVID and the vaccine and that kind of stuff in terms of like prevention and, the health benefits. And of course, people call it the clot shot for particular reasons. Not to mention the fact that AstraZeneca announced over in Europe that, the shot does have a potential health risk when it comes to clotting and that kind of stuff in your blood. So we're going to have to watch this and kind of see how that goes. Because remember, on this program, I keep talking about the fact that pretty soon you're going to start seeing those ambulance chaser kind of lawyer commercials where, you know, have you been hurt by mesothelioma, call so on and so forth. Instead, it'll be, have you been hurt by a COVID-19 vaccine? Blah, blah, blah. Anyway. So, yeah, this is going to be interesting to see. But again, this is starting to demonstrate that the truth is slowly leaking out. It's slowly coming out in a drip, 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 drip fashion. So it's slowly coming out in terms of what's going on here. Now, one last story. This one I've seen a lot of people talking about nationally, which is kind of interesting. But because it happened here in my home state of Washington and over in the city of Spokane, not Spokane, Spokane, Washington, who essentially, basically 3 teenagers went and they were riding around on their scooters. They got this, there's this flag. Oops, sorry. They got this flag right here. It's a pride flag painted on the road, which you can kind of see. I don't know if you guys can, but I certainly can. You can kind of see tire tracks, not like bad tire tracks, but tire tracks running across it. And apparently 3 teens were picked up as which essentially I would think that running, your tires and burning your tires on this would be essentially, it could be argued that it's a expression of speech, just like burning the U.S. flag is, by the way, or burning this flag. So, So anyway, these 3 teens got picked up and have been charged apparently with a Class B felony for spinning their tires on this flag. And even Libs of TikTok has picked up on it and shown the photos of the 3 teens that were essentially doing it, I guess, with scooters, is what I understand it. And so there's a lot of people out there who have put up memes, for an example, defacing government property and these fantastic, fantastic memorials and statues and all these wonderful things to memorialize America. And they go and they deface them with graffiti. Doesn't matter what the message is, but you go and deface them with graffiti and stuff. That's free speech. That's allowed. You don't get picked up. You don't get arrested. But yet, just going and like spinning your tires on painted roadways, that's a hate crime. And you're going to get arrested and charged with it. Our world is upside down. Totally upside down. And somebody else called that out too, where, this person is, the representation in the image is burning a Bible, and it's called free speech, according to these people. Get over it, Nazis. But yet, when you burn a rainbow flag, find out who did this and arrest them, it says. Yeah. Anyway, it's just absolutely horrible that we are upside down. And I could understand, okay, given the kids, they're scooters. They're not like cars. Well, I don't know if anybody's seen the video of the big old truck that did this somewhere where it was leaving tire tread. It was like a big dually truck. And they spun out on the top of the pride flag that was somewhere. Don't remember where specifically, but it was painted on the street. And they apparently got ticketed for something like power, like demonstration of power or something like that. And that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I could understand that in this kind of scenario, but seriously, like a hate crime? Come on. Come on. And especially they're teenagers. Give me a break. Anyway, I got an idea. Better yet, why don't you not paint the street at all if you don't want people to go ahead and, you know, express themselves on this? Yeah. So, whatever. Just horrible, horrible stuff. Alrighty, folks, that's the end of the program for tonight. Do me a favor, if you haven't already, head on over to rumble.com, sign up for an account. It's free, and follow the American Perspective channel. Otherwise, if you're already part of Rumble, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button before you take off, because that is one of the major ways that Rumble counts how videos do on their site. And I would like to hit the leaderboard one of these days. The other thing that I also want to do is, again, I want to thank the McGroins for coming over. I do appreciate the everybody coming here, and you know, obviously I'm doing my best to try and grow the channel, and so having more exposure helps me, and that's essentially what I'm looking for. I do appreciate the run and everything that you guys are doing, you know, posting me on that banner and all of that. This is just what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do my best to, of course, expand and get the message out, because we have a country to save. And I always appreciate, of course, my Whiskey Warrior P1s. Every single one of you. You guys have been around me, with me for a very, very long time, and I do appreciate all of that. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great rest of your evening. I'll see you tomorrow night at 5 p.m. right here on American Perspective. Good night, everybody.
The previous broadcast was produced and is owned by Active Eye Media LLC. All rights reserved.